Hello students, welcome to Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College. Today we are going to start with the chapter number 1 of economics, that is introduction of microeconomics and macroeconomics. Students, we are going to start with the introduction of microeconomics and macroeconomics. In this chapter, we are going to learn about the meaning, definition, scope, features, importance of micro and macroeconomics. Both the part is very important as both are the main branches of economics. Introduction. The field of economics is divided into microeconomics or study of individual market and macroeconomics or study of economy as a whole. It means economy is divided into two parts, microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics and macroeconomics are the two main branches of modern economics. The term micro is derived from the Greek word micros, which means small or a millionth part. The term macro is derived from the Greek word macros, which means large. This term were coined by Norwegian economist Ragnar Frisch of Oslo University in 1933. Main branches of economics is divided into two parts. First part is microeconomics. Second part is macroeconomics. Students, before proceeding with the detailed explanation of micro and macroeconomics, I would like to explain you some short information about both the topics. Like first I am going to start with the microeconomics. That microeconomics studies the behavior of individual unit of an economy. It means it study with only the individual unit of the economy. Second, microeconomics is the study of economic behavior of individual, household and firms in decision making and allocation of resources. It means they are going to study about the individual person, household, that is one single house, as well as about the firms, or you can say the corporate sector, how they take the decision and make the proper allocation of their resources. Microeconomics analyzes the small economic factors like workers, household, companies, etc. First example is the individual person, or you can say a worker. Second, a single household, single house. And the third example is about the company. So microeconomics analyzes the small economic factors like workers, household and companies. Now we'll proceed further with the macroeconomics. Macroeconomics studies the behavior of aggregates of the economy as a whole. It means in the macroeconomics they are going to study about the whole economy. Macroeconomics is the branch of economics that deals with the behavior and performance of an economy as a whole. It means they are going to learn about the economy of a country. It studies about the employment of the country, GDP of the country, inflation rate, growth rate, general price level and stability. Like in employment, what is the employment situation in our country, how many people are employed, unemployed, underemployed, what the GDP is going on, whether our GDP is increasing or whether our GDP is decreasing. Like in the current scenario, our GDP is falling down. Inflation rate, macroeconomic studies about the inflation rate in our country, what is the value of our currency, whether the value of our currency is increasing or value of our currency is decreasing. So overall we can say that macroeconomic studies about the whole country, about the whole economy. So that's why macroeconomics considered as a doing the study in a larger way, because it studies about the whole country. Now we are going to learn all the things about the microeconomics. So first I am going to start with the meaning of microeconomics. Micro means a small part of a thing. Microeconomics does deal with a small part of the national economy. It means they are not going to study about the whole economy, about the whole country. It is going to study about the smaller part of our country. It studies the economic action and behavior of individual unit such as individual consumer, individual producer or firm, the price of particular commodity or factor, etc. They are going to consider, they are going to learn about the individual consumer, how the consumer purchases the product, what are the buying behavior of the customers, what are the producers are going to do production of the goods, or what is the price of that particular commodity. That the single factors are taken into consideration into the microeconomics. Students, now we are going to learn with the definition of microeconomics. According to the Maurice Dobb, microeconomics is in fact a microscopic study of the economic. It means microeconomics, it means we are going to study about all the smaller part of the economy, and that all the smaller parts will come together to make the macroeconomics. So it is necessary that first we should learn all the things, that is the smaller thing in detail, that will help to achieve the larger part, to learn the larger part of the economy, that is the macroeconomics. Students, we are going to start the next topic known as the scope of microeconomics. This topic is important for the board exams also, as normally it used to come for 3 to 4 marks. Scope of microeconomics. It's in the form of theory. That is the microeconomics theory. It's divided into the 3 parts. That is, first is the theory of product pricing, or known as theory of commodity pricing. You can see in your textbook there is the theory of product pricing. Another name is commodity pricing, which is divided into the 2 parts, demand theory and supply theory, or you can say demand analysis or supply analysis, where you are going to study about the demand and supply of individual consumer and supply from the producer. Second part is the theory of factor pricing, which is divided into the 4 parts: rent, wages, interest and profit. That is, for all the 4 factors of production, there is a reward in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit. And the third part is the theory of economic welfare, which is once again divided into the 3 parts, where you can see efficiency in production, efficiency in consumption and overall economic efficiency. Because if there is a proper consumption, proper production, then only you will able to achieve overall economic efficiency. Students, now we are going to proceed further in detail about the scope of microeconomics. First theory of product pricing. Price of an individual commodity is determined by the market forces of demand and supply. It means the price of any of the product will be decided by the demand and supply of that particular product. As everyone are aware that if there is the more demand for any of the product or commodity as compared to the supply, the price of that commodity will get increased, and if there is a more supply as compared to demand, then the price of that commodity will decrease. So that's why it is told that price of an individual commodity is determined by the market forces of demand and supply. It is concerned with demand analysis, that is individual consumer behavior. There are the different kinds of consumer whose behavior may be different. Some consumer wants the traditional goods, or they are having the buying behavior different, which depends upon their income also, and some consumer wants some fashionable products. So demand analysis also depends upon the individual consumer behavior. It is concerned with supply analysis, that is individual producer behavior. So it is also concerned with the behavior of the producer. Second is theory of factor pricing. In microeconomics, land, labor, capital and entrepreneur are the factors that contribute to the production process. As we all know that land, labor, capital and entrepreneur are the four important factors of production which is necessary. Microeconomics helps in determining the factor rewards for land, labor, capital and entrepreneur in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit. So this rent, wages, interest and profit are the reward for the land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. Students, third is the theory of economic welfare. In this theory, we will learn that it is basically deals with the efficiency in the allocation of resources. It means how all the resources, whether the physical, financial or the human resources, should be allocated at a maximum level so that they will able to achieve efficiency. Efficiency in the allocation of resources is attained when it results in maximization of satisfaction of people. It means efficiency is achieved when we can see that maximum people are satisfied. Now we will see that theory of economic welfare is going to achieve with the three efficiencies, that is economic efficiency is divided into three parts. First is the efficiency in production, second efficiency in consumption, and the third is the overall economic efficiency. So if you want to achieve economic efficiency, it is necessary that there should be efficiency in production, efficiency in consumption, then only you will be able to get overall economic efficiency. Now let's learn all the three parts of the economic welfare theory. First part is the efficiency in production. It means producing maximum possible amount of goods and services for the given amount of resources. It means you have to produce maximum amount of goods and services from whatever amount you got of resources. Second is the efficiency in consumption. It means distribution of produced goods and services in such a way as to maximize total satisfaction of the society. It means whatever we had produced, that things should be distributed to the maximum people of the society to give them satisfaction. And the third part is the overall economic efficiency, production of those goods which are more desired by the people. It means you have to produce those goods which are more required by the people, which gives them satisfaction and which are the more demand of the people, so that they will able to satisfy and overall you will able to achieve your economic efficiency. Thank you, students.